My name is Shelby Thomas, and I got to go on the very first trip to the Hang last summer. The Hang is a ministry in New York City, and they support artists socially, professionally, and spiritually. Their goal is to bring people in by providing classes or Bible studies, but ultimately they want to point them towards Jesus spiritually and fulfill them that way. So it started with the one couple that felt led to reach out to artists in the area. Kayla Grizzard, her and her husband started the Hang, and there was a point where they were actually given a basement free of charge to use to support the ministry because it was growing. But it started out very small and then grew to 20 or 30 people. And the crazy part is real estate is never ever free in New York City, but God provided them a place and people, and it kept growing by word of mouth. And now they have a huge group that meets every other Monday for Bible study, and they have dance lessons, but they spend time together and point each other back to Christ, which is just incredible. The people at the Hang are honestly people just like us, but that they work in the arts. So it was actors, dancers, musicians, singers, and a lot of them came from small towns and different places outside of New York City, and they came from places that were very Bible Belt or where there was a church on every corner, and then they ended up in one of the most secular places in the world. And I can only imagine that would be very isolating. So the Hang brought them together and gave them a place to be friends with other people who know Jesus, but also be in the arts industry, which I can only imagine is very isolating whenever you have a relationship with God and you're having to decide whether to pursue your art or to pursue Christ. There's a lot of people that in that industry just don't get seen. And so we get to say, hey, the Hang sees you and they know you and they love you and they want you to come be a part of what God has created for you. And also to encourage them to use the gifts that God has given them and the talents that God has given them for His glory. But a lot of times we just spent loving each other and loving God's people and getting to know one another and praising Him for what He's done in the city. On the last night after we did the prayer walk, we were all worshiping together, and I kept hearing God in my head telling me to give the Hang your money. And I didn't know what that meant. And so I had finally just decided, okay, I'll give it to Sawyer. He's one of the leaders and he will know what to do. After we were all wrapping up and giving away the free pizza and having people take it home, I met one of the girls of the Hang, and she was an opera singer, and I was getting to know her, and I was telling her to take home one of the pizzas. And she was like, are you sure? And I said, yes, we have plenty, take it home. And she was so excited because she said, oh my gosh, this is so great. I don't have money for groceries and I will just be able to eat on this pizza all week. And then I just knew in that moment that that's where the money was supposed to go to. And so I told her, I said, hold on one second. And I went and I got the money that I had and I gave it to her. And I said, this is not from me. This is from God. God told me to give you this. And I gave it to her and she just immediately started bawling because she didn't know how she was gonna provide for herself. And she told me that she had been praying for someone that would intercede on her behalf and that something would come through because she didn't know how she was gonna keep going on and pay her bills. It was a blessing to be able to use something that God gave me to be a plan for provision for her. It's just a blessing to be able to meet these people and put names to faces and be a part of their lives. Pray, give, go with us.